to say the least. So, with that said, let's dive on into the bottom left-hand side of the map here with our blue Protoss player. This is going to be classic. I mean, at least on our end, on this side of things, we can actually just kind of continue with our games. As in the bottom left, classic is our blue Protoss, and he is taking on the red Terran in the upper right. Bunny comes off of a good win there, which was obviously not looking to be so hot. So, yeah, apologies, guys. I'm trying to magic and fix some stuff on the other side of things as we go. It's just been trying our best to deal with that wherever possible. I'm assuming something's happened to one of our players because like they are just not responding at all. So I might have to do some shimmying around of the matchups and stuff, and trying to figure out exactly what goes on next and stuff like that, etc. So yeah, just a little bit of mayhem right now as we try and get everything figured out. So if I do go quiet or something, or it takes me a moment or two to say something, or just, you know, etc., I'm just fixing something on the other screen. I'm excited for this matchup. Little Classic has had some good PvT results since his return, and I think Bunny's been playing well lately. Obviously, I did that whole speech earlier, so I imagine this one could be pretty entertaining. Really excited to see what happens here as Bunny. I mean, in the group stage of this event, just took down Zound like it was nothing, and Zound's been looking amazing lately. But yeah, I've been, like I say, following some of Classic's online tournament results, and he's genuinely been looking pretty decent. So, been pretty impressed with that for the most part. As a couple of SCVs are going to get nibbling onto that probe. That probe taking a good little bit of damage. Orbital command finishing in the main base. Command center will be done on the natural in just a moment or two as well. And just going to be having the factory going to be also done in this main base fairly soon. So pretty standard 1-1, probably 1 setup from Bunny to begin with. We'll see if he does take the second gas, which would be kind of the expectation now. There's not really much else to build with your minerals. If you do want to skip that gas, then you do kind of put yourself in a position where maybe this will be a second barracks rather than the starport. So you're kind of getting to a point where there's a couple of choices. Just gonna see how Stargate is gonna be coming through in the main base. Getting that up and running. Factory gonna swap to a reactor, and there is the second gas. So we are indeed gonna see a starport at the end of it all anyway. So we get that all rolling. There's our Stargate from Classic going to be finishing here as well. Obviously finishing up the Stargate gives you the choice of what you want to build, and you're going to go straight at Phoenix, so a very defensive-focused opener to begin with. As we'll see a couple of Widow Mines continuing out. A couple of Widow Mines still just coming through. The starport is, again, finished up as well, and it's going to see there's a Adept trying to make its way up in toward the main base, perhaps. So just trying to pick up some info. Obviously, if these Phoenix just stay at home and blindly wait, they're actually going to get themselves in a good position to maybe just hard counter whatever's going on here. A couple of options there. I wouldn't mind still just popping out, and a couple more just coming through right there, so they're just going to pop and go down a little bit. And all the Widow Mines loading up, and they're going to collect together and go across the map. But like I say, with these Phoenix in play, they can shut down that medevac really quickly, right? So you've got 3 of them. You got some Adepts out as well. I mean, this could be a very good defense. So we'll get a pylon down here, but we will lose a probe. There you go. Widow Mine actually burrows at the front where the Adepts will not get a kill in time. Now the Phoenix don't actually quite get the lifts in time either. That one Widow Mine is actually retargeting a whole bunch. Not going off on much. Now kind of comes through and splashes. 3 workers killed. The medevac out alive, I think. 3 workers killed ain't bad if the medevac is going to end up falling too. I mean, getting 3... I mean, it still was 4 Widow Mines and 2 Hellions, so I guess it isn't that crazy. Decent defense, really. I guess we did also lose an Adept there. I think it's okay. He actually is going to get the medevac too. So I really do like this a lot for Classic as he defends against Bunny's initial aggression. Cyclone pops out, and the Phoenix should just usually lift that to get rid of the lock-on right away. Maybe could have saved some HP. But obviously didn't quite come through like that in the end. It's just going to see our Raven, Stimpack, and +1 upgrades all continuing through. So all of this coming up is our Phoenix going to make their way around the right-hand side and go for another little play into the main here, as a missile turret will fire once, and SCV gets sniped, and this Marine Cyclone combo will come through to chase the Phoenix out of there as well. Additional Marines then coming up, stem, combat shield, +1, all of this continuing through. A little ways until we've got that Bioforce really ready to fight, and by the time it's ready to fight, we will have Colossi on the map, so Colossi to be worried about. As those Colossus come on through, and just going to be seeing a couple of additional gateways still coming up here from Classic as well, so all of that is on the way up. As we do have our charge as well. I mean, really, Classic, I think, getting set up into a great position. Third base up and running. Third from Bunny just done, but what pressure has he got to put on while setting up into this third base? As we do get this properly underway. 5 Phoenix. Again, good amount for Phoenix Colossus, right? Pretty decent setup. Sometimes some players will add more than this once the Colossus count gets going and really kind of build into that Phoenix count further. But this is a very good baseline to work off of, and there is a point where you want to shut down Phoenix production and go focus on other things. He dives for the Raven. I don't disagree with killing the Raven. The Raven is something that can provide a lot of value, a lot of damage, a lot of utility. He took a lot of damage on the Phoenix. 1 dies, 3 of them, honestly, somewhat lucky to be alive with some target fire. 2 more could have been dead. Was that worthwhile? I feel like you're going to get other chances to maybe make a play on that Raven. I don't feel like that was the one moment you had to say, right, this is it, let's hard dive the Raven there. Just going to see how Bioforce maybe thinking about coming up the high ground. Yeah, I mean, more Phoenix on the way, like I say, just rebuffing that Phoenix count. It makes sense. A lot of the time, this is just going to be your kind of setup for a while. And from this as well, we generally do tend to go into Storm. So there's Temple Archives coming down as well. There's Bunny. Comes out of the right. Obviously, this push is meant to clear the way for him to take the third base without any further issue, too. So he's actually got SCVs down there. He just forgot to bring the command center. So should be able to bring that in a moment or so. As we do have the bio back along to the middle of the map. Cyclone gets a lock on and is going to push the Phoenix away just a little bit. Our bio army still collecting together. On the bottom side, these Widow Mines, just one going to go off and only hits 1 probe, so well handled. Classic not going to let that do too much, as we are going to start stimming in here, but then Classic's very quick to come and fight. His Colossi are way out of position though, right? So doesn't actually have the splash that he's looking for, but he will continue to chase this down. Obviously, running away from a Phoenix army is difficult because they have so much lift potential. They can lift up a lot of these units, and they can obviously just shoot down these medevacs as well. So everything from Bunny is going to continue to drop here, as Classic will chase this all the way across the map. And Bunny is scampering away, trying to find some kind of semblance of safety at some point. So Widow Mine's going to go off the first few Zealots. Next one hasn't fired just yet, at least. Hasn't gone for that so far, as we'll be seeing another Widow Mine going off. Another couple of Zealots going to get tapped by that. We are going to go through the front. Here comes a couple of Widow Mine shots, just going to continue through. The Phoenix coming on in, and let's go for this then, I guess, as Classic is just on top of Bunny's natural. I mean, Bunny just lost so much in that runaway that he's really just struggling unit count-wise. And the problem is, low Viking counts will not work against this Colossus number, because obviously you've got the Phoenix to protect them. 15 workers down on the third base, and, well, that's all Classic needs initially. He doesn't necessarily need to do anything more with this just yet. A few of those Zealots kind of run up toward the army. Not really necessary, as mentioned. And the Bioforce trying to, again, keep everything else back. I mean, Classic will have to back away from it, but the damage is done, right? The worker count is decimated, and Classic's on his way to +2. Blink. Nexus on the way as well. We are getting a good teched up army of Bunny out, at least. His Viking count is getting higher, and his Ghost count is now being established too, so he's getting to an army that really might be able to fight a little bit. His army supply isn't that far behind. I do feel like Classic maybe stuck around a bit long there. He sent some Zealots in that maybe didn't need to be sent forward as well. A couple of things that maybe could have gone differently, that maybe could have been, you know, a deal breaker in and amongst all of this. Gonna move through. EMP goes down, hitting a chunk of the first round as Zealots. There's a lot of Stalkers in this army now. That's great for firepower, and if you can overwhelm them, that's brilliant. But obviously, there's a little bit of fear that maybe these Stalkers die very quickly if the right fight comes around from Bunny. But I just don't know if he's got the numbers here. Sorry, I'm just... Something I've selected has died, and I'm just following the army. And that's why I've jumped back to the Nexus, because I've still had the Nexus selected too. So sorry, that was a bit of a random jump back mid-fight. That was just the auto follow function as Classic takes game number 1 of this best of 3. I'm not that good, but that play was really bad. Okay, well, you're not that smart, and now you're banned. Yeah, bye. Okay, in the top left-hand side, our red Protoss play leading 1-0 is going to be Classic. As in the bottom right-hand side, we do have our blue Terran player. It is Bunny. This is really exciting for me because this is my first time getting to cast some Classic games since he returned from the military, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if I cast like one match of his from a replay or something. I don't think I did. Like I said, this is his first WardiTV tournament back. He's played in a couple other things I actually have replays for that I want to cast at some point. We've just been pretty busy lately, so we've not had as much of a chance as I would have liked. But yeah, it's good to see him looking good. I mean, showing up here, already winning a first map and stuff. Looking pretty cool so far. It's been fun to see. See how far you can take it, see how you can keep it going. See if you can pick up a 2-0. 2-0 against Bunny would really put him into a great spot in this group. Remember that Classic lost to Hero. Classic lost to Hero already today, so if you could beat Bunny, he might create a little bit of a triangle of results that could lead to some tiebreakers and some upsets and who advanced and stuff. Here, we'll see. Classic Bjorn was really sick in the Side Cup. Yeah, I have those replays. That's what I want to cast them at some stage. I've just been busy. Like, we've had so much of our own StarCraft to cast. I do want to cast them at some point. It's just a question of when will I get the chance to. It's almost like I could do with like a day or two of just like no live matches just to catch up on like all the replay stuff that I wanted to cover. And maybe we'll get a chance for that like after the DreamHack season finals or something, so it's a possibility. It's got some potential. Adept is going to pop out and the sentry continues through. Once we get this going, Twilight Council building as well. You don't have to be a pro to be right about something. Of course you don't have to be a pro to be right about something. But if you're going to come in and be like, this guy sucked, he was bad, what the hell? That's just like unnecessary shit talking, you know? Like, there's a nicer way to say it. You can be like, oh man, I don't think, you know, XYZ played as well as he could have there, or I think this move was incorrect. Just being like, lol, what a noob. I mean, literally, like, there's just no reason to say that, you know? It's just like, I mean, I don't know why we need to explain this. It just should be common sense. So maybe we got a lot of people on the chat, you know, today. There's a lot of viewers in here. Maybe we got some people in here. It's the weekend. You know, maybe we got some kids who usually at school. Maybe we gotta teach people a little bit some general I don't know. Like, the vast majority of you guys are great. I know, I'm just kind of responding to a couple of trolls, really, but I should just go without saying. I just saw, like, a flurry of it all at once. I thought it was just worth bringing up. That was all. Robo facility building this natural expansion. So getting the Robo up and rolling. As the blink is coming through, it's going to be about halfway done. And, yeah, just going to see this gateway finishing up at the front as well. So everything getting set up. This wall-off is looking pretty reasonable as well. A couple of Hellions are going to poke across the map and are going to run headfirst into that initial Adept as well. Photo mines are burrowed on the natural, and they will just get a couple workers, nothing too crazy. One kill per Widow Mine. There's one Widow Mine left, and it will get burrowed, and it will go for a Stalker. Nice split away from Classic to make sure it was only one Stalker. One Widow Mine got out alive. And otherwise, a pretty good defense. Obviously, he's playing different to the last game, while Bunny plays the same opening. So, it was always going to look different. And we are going to go into a very quick Templar Archive, so I imagine this is going to be that blink into Storm, which we've been seeing more of. This really first took hold in Korea. Zest and Trap really popularizing it a lot, and it's kind of scary. It also is a little bit scary to properly tech up into, because you obviously go in Storm so soon, and Storm is one of those things, it's like Disruptors, where, you know, if you miss your Storm, that's it, like, you just don't have anything else, but the idea is you've got enough ground units to kind of roughly kind of keep your opponent pinned back anyway, and then you can somewhat then, sit back and rely on the Storms a little more than usual to put you into a bit of a better spot if needed. So, yeah, it works. Like, I mean, as a composition, I think that's the main thing, right? Like, as a composition, it definitely can work. As a strategy, it can go down well. But it is sometimes a little bit riskier. I think that's what Bunny is doing here in particular. I don't mind it. Obviously, he invests into the Raven too, which means the feedback is invaluable there. Same as the Phoenix diving on the Raven last time, just removing the Raven from the equation does so much for you as the Protoss player. It is so nice if you can get rid of that Raven and just shut that down right away. Once the Forge comes through now, and we'll be able to start some upgrades, and just single upgrades too. But honestly, will not be too bad. I mean, he'll be, well, trailing the +1 of his opponent, but yeah, even then, it's not like he's starting it after the first upgrade of the Terran's finished, so upgrades aren't even in that bad of a place either. And yeah, just going to be seeing our few High Templar continue to warp in, so that Storm is going to be ready. And obviously, the Storm isn't really wanting to be used against these couple of Hellions. You're trying to hold that Storm out to be able to use it against the Bioforce. And a couple of Hellions will do pretty okay initially, honestly. I mean, 5 workers going down, not bad. Here comes the Bio Army, though, and this is where those High Templars are important. Again, hitting the feedback on the Raven should be pretty substantial here, should be a pretty big deal. The rest of the Bio Army will have to be a little bit cautious here too, as we do move up this ramp. Widow Mine goes down, a Storm drops, and that's the feedback on the Raven after an anti-on missile that hits the High Templar. High Templar that obviously aren't otherwise really meant to get involved in this fight. Classic does trail a couple of Zealots down into the Bioforces there, though. Obviously, Raven's still alive. It was just out of energy. The High Templar, I thought, might have gone up there, and they might have seen the Medivacs move into the main base. And that's something which Classic is not right now prepared to deal with, is he's just got nothing in the main. I believe he just used the majority of his warp in onto the low ground. He had a couple of warp ins available. Now you can see kind of having a couple more available. Warp in these Zealots, but kind of going through a choke point ain't going to be pretty either. Something just died over here, just an observer that flew into the Raven. I mean, the High Templars finally get into the main, and the thing is, using a Storm in this scenario isn't exactly ideal either. As this new Archon's going to get killed off too. It looks like Bunny is starting to get control of this. So he is going to be chased away with these other units that never got picked up by the drop, but everywhere else, Bunny is just absolutely kind of falling apart. Sorry, he's absolutely dominating. Classic is falling apart. He lost out on the right side, but he did very well with that drop in the main. Supplies are going to stabilize not too badly, though. I mean, Classic only a couple workers ahead, would like to be a few more. Finally getting that +1 attack going, so that Forge took a while to actually get rolling in general. Yeah, that Archon got killed off as well. That was a shame, this Archon that died here. Just one of those things that you would think usually you could avoid happening, but this time just couldn't quite make the difference on it as this Medivac tries to come back through. The distraction maybe for this Medivac over in the natural. Now, a cannon will buy some time. It's nice because the cannon just buying time for the first couple warp-ins and then the other Zealots show up. It saves you probes, right? You know, if this cannon wasn't here, you probably lose 10 more probes or something. One of the emptier Medivacs going down at the end, but well, yeah, at least going to clean up a couple of Widow Mines off the back of this too, so it ain't all that bad. Still trying to find something with this one drop, as Bunny loves his drop play. One of the main things about Bunny's play is just how good he can be when, with the multitasking, with the multi-pronged attacks, with the Medivacs kind of, a little bit all over the place. He is being kind of focused on that right now. Classic lifts the Templar into the Prism. Time for him to go attacking. Look at resources lost. Classic has lost more, and yet he has actually mined a little bit more than Bunny this game, if only just, so he's somewhat made up for maybe those additional losses. Army is settling down towards the bottom right-hand side. There is a field of Widow Mines up this ramp, though, so the problem here is that this army is very, very weak to Widow Mines. Like, Zealots will melt, Archons will take bonus damage. Widow Mines are just kind of your best friend in this scenario as the Terran player, and you can see already the first Widow Mine is actually just doing wonders. I mean, they're connecting on so many of those Zealots. Here comes the Storm coming in from the not even from the Prism, as you actually have to back away from the Prism. The War Prism took some shots. The Prism has to back it up. There's more Storms available here as Classic continues in. He is down heavily on supply. He needs to do some more damage. But he has a massive army supply advantage, just it isn't really being shown here, it feels like. Yes, now we're going to start seeing it as these Marines still stand strong. They pulled back. He stormed his own Archon. New Widow Mine's obviously coming off cooldown. Oh, the previous Widow Mine's coming off cooldown. So getting to fire a second time is going to kill the units as they run up the ramp. But a lot of SCVs now going down. Classic's army just isn't quite dying at the end here. Just a few units that are very frustrating. If Classic had been able to clean up these Widow Mines, he actually lost the Observer just before the fight started to the Raven / the Scan. If he'd been able to clean up these Widow Mines, he actually might have made the difference there. Like, a few extra Zealots actually showing up to be reinforcements would have gone a long way. Now Classic is in trouble because he's got to deal with this army of Bunny without any kind of real army of his own. If he could buy the time, he's on his way to 2 Colossi. If he had a bit of time, his economy is going to come and, work wonders for him, but I don't know if he's going to have that amount of time. At the very least, he's going to lose this 4th base, which means Bunny will get a 4th up before Classic, so should be in full recovery mode when it comes to dealing with the lost SCVs. Drop up over this side is going to be Widow Mines going in for a bunch of probes. 8 SCVs on the other side of the map, though. Storm Drop actually showing up and delivering. So the Storm Drop doing okay there. 12 probes down to 8 SCVs. And that's going to keep Classic in a bit of a worker lead. Is Classic really stabilizing here? I think he is, because he's going to get to 4 Colossus. And 4 Colossi does mean you just don't have the number of units as Bunny to fight that just yet, because you don't have an answer to Colossi. So I actually think Classic is going to stay alive, if only just here on Romanticide. He is just about going to keep himself in this. The Widow Mine quickly unburrows, and we will start to move up the right as this Warp Prism will move up the left. Moving into the middle of the map as Bunny comes around the top side here. Just going to be aiming for that 3rd base. It's going to be weird because this is going to enter a bit of a base trade scenario. EMP is the Nexus. Make sure there's no recall available. Well, didn't actually work out right, but that's the idea. He only had 1 EMP, so it didn't do too much. Classic loses his 3rd base. He's going to send the probes over to this base that's just finishing, so he will actually keep mine for a while. I kind of love that he avoids the planetary right now and just says, right, I'm just going to dive on your natural and stuff. Kill these orbitals, because I think he can always back away to kill the planetary, whereas if you prepare a defense on the main and natural and stuff, that is not something which is necessarily going to then be held. Are we going to recall onto this natural? No, we're going to go and kill the planetary off. Okay, this is actually going to turn out to be 2 bases each at the end, right? Because there's 2 orbitals left. He's got a base on the left and a base in the main. Both players have a main base. So both players have this base, which is a little bit lower. He does get the recall before the EMP, so the recall is good. And we do have these few Zealots that are still coming home as well. Now, he actually has this, so he can actually kind of trap this army if he wants to. Bunny's going to lift into Medivacs and escape, though. Now, this little drop here found this base, found this group of units. Dealing with the Medivacs is going to be the biggest issue right now. Yes, you've got Stalkers and Blink, but Bunny can just really run around the map all over the place as much as he'd like, and that will do a lot for him. What do you actually build to this Classic? He's got to build a ton of pylons to get unsupply blocked first. He only has 28 probes left. Bunny's going to float his main down to the natural. That's obviously a strength of the Terran here, being able to take that main base, which is more mined out, and end up with a base that actually has a little bit more life in it still. That can go a long way as well as we continue down through the south, and Classic is going to be coming into the middle of the map. Just going to be seeing our army getting set up in the center. EMP's going down across the board. Vikings are getting stormed up a little bit, but I just don't think there's the damage here. There's not actually the supply here you need is Classic. Yeah, I actually think he has the damage, he just doesn't have the buffer to keep his damage alive long enough. And that is going to be Bunny taking the second game, tying us up here 1-1. And we are going to... Welcome back, everybody. As we dive into game number 3 of the series. Kind of an exciting game, too. I think Bunny always had the edge, but it wasn't always such an obvious advantage that it was just going to be like a, walk-away victory sort of situation. As we are going to be having the bottom right-hand side, our blue Terran player, Bunny, taking on the red Protoss in the top left-hand side, Classic, as we get this underway. And look to see if we can wrap this up. Alright, so game 3, and excited to see what again comes out of this right now, as we already see Classic with a pylon on the far right side of the map, already looking to be a little bit aggressive here. So already setting up for that, getting that ready to go. We're going to drop down a second gateway, so it's actually going to be a real kind of frontal pressure right from the start, and it's set up so that if you scout across the map, you won't notice too much weird apart from maybe the Nexus timing. Whereas if you kind of had, a second gateway building at home later, then you're like, oh, there must be another gate on the map. Now you might be like, oh, maybe there's like a Stargate building or something. When Bunny scouts, like, it doesn't necessarily straight away mean there's double gateways, right? So that's something to look at, as you just see our CC will land onto the natural, and there's a reactor on the way after a single Marine. He cancels when he sees no Nexus. This is really smart. He's going to, cancel everything. Okay, so he has 0 cares in the world. He's just going to cancel the reactor, cancel CC. Second Marine, and now a factory starting. So Bunny going to take this extremely seriously right from the get-go. Right from the get-go, there's a couple more adepts on the way up from Classic, so all of those coming through, and it's going to be intriguing because now you won't be able to do too much offensively here as Classic with these gateways. Bunny's actually heavily supply blocked. He cancelled the CC, which obviously means he won't have that supply up in time, so then his second depot wasn't quite lined up properly. An engineering bay block here, so if Classic wants to expand, it'll be delayed, especially if he wants to keep this adept at home. If he wants to get this adept on the map, he could keep it at home and help fight the CC, or the engineering bay, but of course if you do that, that means you're not putting on the pressure you were originally planning. Classic goes for a Stargate before he expands. Honestly, I don't mind this from Classic, because if nothing else, he's going to still expand at a reasonable time compared to Bunny, because Bunny's also not on an expansion here, so yeah, I don't think I really mind this at all, actually. All said and done, as our warp gate will be continuing through. That Stargate still coming into the main base. This engineering base still ticking along, and kind of just waiting for whatever is next as our Cyclone comes up. CC's getting going. Yeah, we just kind of wait to continue through as this Nexus goes in on the natural expansion. Just getting that up and rolling, and just going to be seeing the Phoenix building out of the Stargate here as well in the main. So just getting that going. 2 adepts and a Stalker will set the front. Yeah, like I say, we end up expanding. Now, you expand in a little bit, kind of, compared to the Terran CC, right? You're expanding later. But you've got to remember this command center also has to lift off, fly to the natural. And that's actually a significant amount of time where the CC will not be building workers. So, actually, the timings of the bases, for the point at which they're both kind of down in the natural, producing workers, etc., is probably actually fairly similar to what they usually would be, the difference between them. So I wouldn't say that's necessarily something kind of for or against either player in particular right now. Siege Tank gonna be popping out. In the middle of the map, we've got a couple of Adepts and Stalkers joined up together as well. They're gonna keep on trying to push down the bottom right-hand side. Just gonna see those Adepts shading through. The Cyclone moving out, and a couple of the Phoenix will collect up in the center as well, so all of that coming through at the moment, all of that getting settled. I mean, still kind of aggressive from Classic, right? Staying on the aggressive side of things at the moment, not really taking much of a breather at all. Gonna lift up a Cyclone there, gonna lift up the Siege Tank, and we are gonna see the Cyclone killed off. The Siege Tank now taking some fire as well, will die. And just going to be seeing Bunny typing GG. Wow, not ready for this defense with this defense in time. And Classic just busts him then and there. I didn't think Classic was just going to bust through, but obviously you have the Phoenix to deter, the main defensive